Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. And it's Thursday. It is February 18th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And this will be our last one for the week. I probably won't do one tomorrow on Friday. Um, and if you'll notice here, I've decided I'm going back to the 2000 tick. Honestly, there's probably not 3 ticks difference between my 6500 volume and my 2000 tick chart. But I get so many questions. I mean, literally, it's 25 questions a week about why did you go to the 6500 volume, and rather than just keep answering that question week after week, and people trying to say, a lot of people say, well, the tick chart's better, it's different, or whatever. It's not really. Um, here's my, let me just show you how these. There's my 6500 volume. There's my 2000 tick, and I mean, literally, there's not. There's rarely any, little if any, difference there. It's kind of hard to see it, but there's just not much difference. There really isn't hardly any difference. I'm not going to keep trying to squeeze it on. There we go. But you can see the trend up. It's a little flatter because I had to squeeze it up. But I mean, basically, the breaks are all in the same place. The bars are all the same. The setups are all basically the same. There's a couple of times where you might get a tick past a bar in one chart that you don't get on the other, but it's not. Even then, it's not very consistent. It might be a tick lower on this chart that we don't see on this one, and then you see a tick lower or higher on this chart that you don't see on this one. So, I mean, there's the 2000 tick chart, and you can see the trend down, then we kind of go sideways, and the other trend down, and then we just go sideways. And you can see that exact same thing. There's the trend down, we go sideways, the trend down, then we just go sideways. I mean, there's literally, now there may be a difference between your tick chart and my volume chart. That's more, it's a bigger difference, I guess you should say. But your tick chart would probably have a bigger difference too. It's just the difference in the data and the broker and all. But anyway, there's no difference in them really. I just, rather than keep going back and forth, I stuck with the 6500 because there's no real difference on my two charts. So, but just to get past it and get around all the questions and having to answer that 25 times a week, I'm just gonna go back to the tick chart. So anyway, I'm backing out here, and we'll talk about the trades and we'll go from there. But there's a larger trend here working down, but it doesn't really come into play. We get a break here and a move to a new low, but you don't really get any setups off of it. Really, you need this trend line, the correction in between, and then the next trend line. And you definitely want to, once this one's over, there's your measured move. You measure that and you move it over here. And we came up a little short. And we just went sideways from there. But that's what I would have been looking for. You can see that we found support here and we just couldn't get any lower. So, but that would have been my first um, goal, was to look for that target and look for this to move from an equal distance. But let's talk about the trades. We had a trend moving up. Somebody asked me about that trend, but that's long before 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, which is when I come in. So this trend was over, and we had this failed second entry long here that confirmed that trend line when I came in right after 7 o'clock. Nice setup there. Uh, it's a pretty quick and easy move. It does kind of go sideways, but then it just gives you another setup right off the same trend line. And this is a failed second entry long as well here. Notice this is basically a double top. You can treat it like that. So it's a pullback first entry, pullback second entry. It fails. It's right off the trend line. It's a nice bearish bar. Just go short there. If you catch that, and then there's a breakout pullback short here. There's support across here. You can kind of see that. And so this is a breakout pullback short. Look how bearish that bar is. What I would do was, I don't really have a problem with you putting a stop right there below that bar, because this is, again, this is a double top, and this is like a first move higher and a second move higher. So it's very similar to not only being a breakout pullback short, but to being a failed second entry long. If you wanted to, you wait on this bar, let it break lower, and then drop a limit order, maybe a tick or so back into this bar to get a little better entry. Um, but that many times going higher right off that trend line and failing every time, we're due to go to the other side. And you can see we just take off here, and we overshoot it actually here. Um, then we just kind of start going sideways, and then we get that one tick higher there. Again, it's right off the EMA, right off the trend line. Look how bearish. Go short there. You got enough room to get out before here. But it just kind of pushes right on through, and then it bounces. And notice we did get an overshoot here, which a lot of times that'll lead to a break. It didn't lead to an instant break, but soon thereafter we got a break. And notice we got a trend line moving up, and so I was going to wait. I think you need to wait on a break and a new high, and we get that, but it doesn't bounce till way down here, and then you get the new high. So then I like going short. You're a good bit away from the EMA. It's you've had your break here, a new high. A lot of times you may want to wait on the second entry, but because we were so far away from the EMA and you had a little small bar there, and there's been some strong resistance across here, I kind of liked just catching it back at least to the EMA, and instead it just comes all the way back down again, and it just kind of keeps going sideways, but you never really get another good setup. You only want to go short off a good setup bar, and you only want to go long off a good setup bar down here, but you don't really get any. You need a little bar right at the line, and this one looked like it was going to set up, but it keeps going higher, and by the time it does, then you're kind of going sideways. There's a second entry short right there. It pushes through the EMA, pulls back, and it's fairly bearish. And you got plenty of room. So really that one should at least probably be green. At the time, I just didn't think it was worth risking, but looking back at it after the fact, I mean, it could almost even be red, but I'm going to make it green. It's a little bit worrisome because even though we're going sideways, you can see we're swinging back and forth. We're right at the EMA there, and sometimes prices, just like right here, notice how it went lower and then ticked up. You got to be real careful. But this one did push all the way through and come back, and it closes very bearish and all the way on the other side. But now you get your failed second entry long and another retest of the previous resistance, and it pretty much sets that trend line right there. So I like that one for sure, just because it's a failed second entry long. And then we come down, we pull back, we get a first entry right here. This is still really just a first entry, but notice how it goes lower and then goes back up and then turns down. I still like that one being right off that trend line. What you'd probably want to do is let this break below here and then drop a limit order in here. And you could have gotten filled a couple of ticks back into that, almost right back to the trend line, and then look at it drop. Otherwise, if you went short right down here, you're going short right into the support, and so then you got to skip it. So this one, even though I made it red, is borderline being green, but I'm still going to leave it red for the reasons. And then notice what happens. It shoots through, it pulls back. It turns down right off that trend line. It gives a perfect test of the previous support, and look how bearish that bar is. Just go short right there on a stop, and off it goes. And another good move down. I don't like this one. This one is tempting, but it's right into that double bottom. It's close to the low side here, and you did get a overshoot here. I didn't draw it on here, but let me back up to this trade. There's a trend line working right up through there. And if you use those first few closes, you get a little close outside. It's not a huge close. It's really questionable because it's so close. But you can see we traded way down and then came back up and it went down. So that was another reason I like that one. And then this one we're coming up, and this is the first break. It's almost very similar to this move. It's like a repeat pattern. Notice that's the first break, and it shoots straight down, and that's a really bearish bar. So for that reason, you probably could make that one green because it is a repeat pattern. But we've moved down considerably, and we do have a break here, But I think you need to wait on that second entry, but it never comes. So let me look over here on my other chart and see if I got it. No, it looks exactly the same. It's just a first entry there. I don't get that good of a signal bar on my other chart, on the volume chart, but pretty good setup right there as far as the signal bar and the fact it's the first break. And there are two legs up there. There's a move up, pull back, second leg up. It's a hidden second entry short, but it is one. And then of course we make a new low. This is a little piece from the EMA, but it's not a great signal bar, so I think you got to watch it and skip it. And then you get a second entry long counting off the low there. But again, it's kind of right into some previous resistance. I think you have to wait on the second entry short. Yep. Failed second entry short, and that comes right there. So when it broke above there, you could go long, and you really could almost add on there because you wouldn't have probably got out of that one before it backed up and then went higher. But your stop goes right below that bar, and notice you never would have gotten filled. And then it turns down and fails again and goes higher. I really didn't mark that one because you're right back up to the high, and it's kind of going sideways more than I really liked or expected that it would. So I'm only going to mark the failed second entry short, and that's a reversal pattern type deal. But then notice you get a new high here. You pull back first entry, pull back second entry. You get the break of this channel, but that's a second entry long, and it bounces, a big bullish bar bounces right off the EMA. I like that one. And where does it go? It goes right to the suspected trend line. And the way I got this trend line was I drew it off these lows here across these bottoms, and you can see it holding really nice. So when you pull that to the top, you're going to be expecting something to happen here. We never really get a really good setup here, and then it bounces higher. This one is right off that resistance again. You're a little piece from the EMA, but I still think you need to wait on a second entry, and that doesn't come till down here. And notice what happens here. You get it looks like it's going to give you a failed second entry long right there. It actually does, but it hangs up on this bar and it doesn't go lower. So that scares me away from that one a little bit. But when it turns up higher here again and you get this bearish bar there, I liked it then. Because that really definitely gives you a double test of that high and a triple top right there. So that gives you a little bit more. And you're looking for prices to make a new low. So I like that one. And it's not a perfect signal bar, so you might have used the lemon order. You might have got left behind if you were used much more than just putting it near the bottom or one tick in, because it took off pretty quick, and I don't know if you'd have got filled on much more than right there at the low. And then it takes off lower, it pulls back, tests the EMA and trend line again. It's not a perfect signal bar, and it is a first entry, but we just came off this high and we just had a break, so we're probably going to get a new low here. If you waited on the next bar on the second entry, you would have missed it. And just looking at my other chart, I kind of like the setup better on my volume chart. It actually had a smaller bar here, and then it had one break above it and touch this trend line EMA and then turn in and go out the other side. So it does have a little better setup than this tick chart does on that particular instance. And also my volume chart had a little better setup right here. Look how far away we are from the EMA. We did get a close outside. We got two legs down. We just broke below that low. So this is probably going to be a failed break lower that snaps back to the EMA. And I had a really small bar that closed on its very high here, where this one doesn't, but it's still closing its upper 2/3 or upper third really almost. And we're so far away from the EMA, you know we're probably going to snap back. I didn't like going long here on the second entry counting off the low. There's probably still room to get out, but it's not a great setup here, and it was even worse one on my other chart. It was actually right into the end trend line there, but I'm only going to talk about both charts today. Going forward, I'm only going to look at one. I'm willing to give that an agreement based on looking at this chart, but I really just moved my trades over to this chart earlier from my other chart because I still traded my other chart today. But going forward, I'm just going to trade this one and look at this one. And then there's your reversal pattern. Notice your new low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. It quickly fails and turns. Just go long there. And this is one you could add on. It actually pulls back and bounces again. Just go long right there, and you would have caught runners on those, and you could have ridden them all the way to the top. And then you got one other trade. It's right before the 2 o'clock hour. It's a failed second entry long. It's really kind of a repeat pattern of this. It's not quite as, it doesn't move quite as far, but it's still the same type of deal. Pull back, you get a first entry. You pull back, you get a second entry. It fails, and look how bearish that bar is. Just go short there. And again, you would have had a runner, and you can ride that all the way back down to the other side. Basically, once we got past here, you really want to just kind of play the range. It would have been a long down here most likely if it hadn't been after 2 o'clock. So, but yeah, pretty good trading day. It was really all downhill till about 1 o'clock, which by that time you're looking at this range for the most part, and so you're looking for it to come back up here. You did actually have your break of the channel and a new low as well, so it kind of all fit together pretty well. But hopefully you had a good day. It's been a couple of, yesterday was just unbelievable, but today was not a bad day either. Still a good many trades, and but anyway, I will go back to the 2,000 tick chart. Again, I don't see 2 ticks difference between the 2 charts of mine, so you can use either one. It's not going to make much difference, but I'll probably take the day off tomorrow. It's supposed to be really nice here in the 70s. The sun's shiny. It was really nice here today, so I'm going to take advantage of it tomorrow. Probably hit the golf course right around lunchtime, so probably no chart lesson unless something drastic changes. But otherwise, we'll be back again to do it Monday. And but I'm going to wrap it up for now. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.